As the war in Iran continues into its third week, we continue to get shifting narratives and changing stories from the Trump regime about why exactly we were there in the first place. He started with the nuclear weapons argument, which quickly fell apart as more and more investigations and information reveal that Iran wasn't close. They were not on the verge of developing a nuclear weapon, and don't forget about Operation Midnight Hammer last year, in which we supposedly obliterated their nuclear program when we struck 3 uranium enrichment locations. Then the argument shifted to regime change. Is it regime change? Is it not regime change? Pete Hegseth himself said, this isn't a regime change war, but it's very nice that the regime did change, and apparently they're looking at it again because Senator John Fetterman said that we got to kill the Ayatollah's son too. He's also a bad dude, so let's just keep taking him out until we find the right person, right? Then we get this argument about, well, they were attempting to take over the Middle East. They were a threat to everyone, including our good buddies in Israel. But that also just seems not true. I mean, assuredly, they would have more opportunity to attack targets in the Middle East to threaten those around them, but they didn't really seem eager to do so, and there were no credible threats still that have been reported about that actually coming to fruition. Then he talked about the direct threat to the United States and our citizens, and again, this is just patently false. There is no information to suggest that we were at imminent threat. There was that fake story of intelligence about drones coming to California. They've fabricated and talked about so many different ways in which we were at risk. But the reality is the American people are more unsafe because we entered this war. We are more unsafe because they made this decision. American citizens are dying in the Middle East. 13 confirmed killed in action or as part of these combat operations, and we are still no closer to understanding why we really started in the first place. But one of the most consequential admissions about this war from Donald Trump came last night aboard Air Force One when he offered another reason, this time talking about oil. And the reason that we entered Iran is because we needed to control oil output so that we could make more money. Take a listen.
Because it is their territory. It's a place from which they get their energy. And they should come and they should help us protect it. You could make the case that maybe we shouldn't even be there at all because we don't need it. We have a lot of oil. We were the #1 producer anywhere in the world times 2. By double, at least double. Now I think it's much higher than that. But we do it. It's almost like we do it for habit.
You think? This is a stunning admission from this president. Not stunning in the sense that it's surprising, not stunning in the sense that we didn't all already know that, but stunning that he said the quiet part out loud. And this is, I guess, one of the benefits of having a president like Donald Trump is that when he's riffing, when he's just talking off the cuff, when he's a little bit more relaxed, maybe when he's a little bit off of his guard, he will talk about things in a way that nobody would ever advise him to do so. And assuredly, the most spectacularly stupid way to refer to the war in Iran right now for this administration that can't come up with any good reason for us to be there is to say maybe we shouldn't have been there at all. And he's talking about this in the context of NATO allies not coming to our aid. You'll recall that last week he put out that Truth Social post that said everybody's sending warships to the Middle East to open up the Strait of Hormuz, except nobody sent their warships. Everybody is considering their options. Some have frankly just taking it off the table. France being one of those that said, yeah, we're not entering this. We're not helping you. You started this. You get to finish it. And I don't blame them. I agree with other world leaders that are not coming to our aid in our defense because American exceptionalism and imperialism needs to die a painful death. We need to learn our lesson. This is the cost of abandoning soft power across the world and then not using that soft power to help inform our decision making, because assuredly anybody else in NATO would have said this is a spectacularly bad idea and you should not do it. You have no reason to enter Iran, or whatever reasons you're going to fabricate are going to fall apart under any sense of public scrutiny.
Do you think he has a clue what he's trying to achieve in the Middle East?
No, I don't. And I think he's thought that he could pull a Venezuela here, decapitate the leadership of Iran, and it would all get settled quite quickly. And I think 2 weeks in, what is very clear is this is not going to get settled quickly. All the mission statements he's laid out have changed day by day, sometimes hour by hour.
And again, it's really important we spend some time unpacking the fact that he says maybe we shouldn't even be there at all. It's almost like we do it out of habit. It's absolutely right. That's one of the first truthful things he said in a very long time. It is almost like we do it out of habit. We just got out of a forever war in the Middle East a couple years ago, and now we're back into one. They talk about this shifting timeline, that the war is already won, but maybe it hasn't been. We need NATO to come to our defense, even though it's been total annihilation. And we also can't figure out how to open the Strait of Hormuz that we never thought they would close because we just didn't think they'd play that card. What did you think Iran was going to do? This is their greatest source of leverage in the world because of how much oil flows through the strait, because of how many other resources flow through the strait. It was obvious from minute one that this was going to be the card that they had to play, and play it they have, and suffer we have.
Because with every passing day, with every passing week, now into the third week, markets going up, fertilizers, gas, everything. And the world is really worried about shortages and also the inflationary effect here and abroad.
Yep, Brent, can we just be clear here?
Okay.
It's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. And, I know the media likes to move things along. We see these headlines, and that's part of the Iranian strategy. And it's very unfortunate that because of a dislike for President Trump, not you, but a lot of mainstream media are trying to speed this up, trying to make it into some crisis that it's not.
The United States, American people, and people across the globe are feeling the economic ramifications of that. It has spiked oil prices. It has spiked other prices. There are so many things that are hurting the global economy right now, and a direct result of this war in Iran. And assuredly, we're scrambling. Assuredly, this regime still cannot figure out a coherent reason why we entered, and they cannot figure out if we ever should have entered in the first place. This is what so many of us have been saying for so long, that we, the American people, those of us that have common sense, those of us that are not MAGA, those of us that have read history books, those of us that know anything about the way the world functions, understood from minute one this was going to be a spectacular disaster. And now the question becomes, how do we leave? How do we get out? How quickly can we end this? Because the regime can't figure that out either. They said this might take a few weeks. Now it's major combat operations. There are Marines being deployed to the Middle East as we speak, additional warships being moved into position, and all for what? What is the end goal? What is the final outcome that we need? Because it doesn't seem we have a strategic objective. And so the only real conclusion here is that we have to go. And Donald Trump is absolutely correct. A tacit admission that maybe we shouldn't be there at all is also a tacit admission that he doesn't know why they got there in the first place. He did it because he wanted to. And then there was this clip.
When are you going to know when it's over?
When I feel it.
Okay.
I feel it in my bones.
Will you ask anybody in particular? Would that be some of these a joint decision?
Well, I deal with people. I have great people.
What does that mean? What exactly does that mean? Does he have to feel it down to his bone spurs? I don't understand what any of that means, and he doesn't either. That's the point. The point is that he is such a spectacular failure of a commander-in-chief that he launched us into what appears to be another endless conflict for no reason whatsoever, other than he really felt like he had to do it. He just felt like he had to do it. Is that enough justification for you, especially when he's publicly admitting that maybe we shouldn't have done it? He's not even resolute in his own action, in his own response. It's only a few weeks in and he's already faltering, already saying, you know what, maybe this was a miscalculation. Maybe this was a misstep. That is the understatement of the century. This was the dumbest war under the dumbest premises, and we still are no closer to understanding with any sense of clarity why this happened and why it's still ongoing. We have one option left. Leave. Leave. Cut your losses and get out now. Abandon this war now. Stop what you are doing and let the world return to some sense of normalcy while we, the American people, try to figure out how we're going to recover from the horrors that this man has unleashed upon us for a decade now.